Wednesday, April 28th. So the moon is still in Scorpio, but will be going void of course around 9:30 a.m. This is going to make for a little bit of a shaky start to the day, as if we didn't have, shaky days previously. But this shift is going to be a good one because, of course, what comes after Scorpio? Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy is the light at the end of the tunnel. It is when we gain a bigger, broader perspective of the big picture in which we are moving closer to. It is when we start pulling out the silver linings from the very serious, dark, intense situation that we just came out of. And it's where we get hope back, where we get optimism back. And so the moon will be entering into Sagittarius around 12:42, so around lunchtime. And again, making for a very, 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 very unstable ground in the morning. Don't make any decisions. Don't react. Don't just try to just survive until, later in the afternoon, because again, we're all over the place emotionally. We have all kinds of conflicting energies bouncing around. And until that moon locks into Sag, we should understand that even going with the flow might feel a little bit painful and uncomfortable. So I'm declaring this another moon day. We have 6 different moon aspects taking place, but here's the breakdown. Here's what I find super interesting about it. While the moon is still in Scorpio, before it goes void, of course, and makes that transition, of course, into that Sagittarian energy, the moon makes an aspect with Chiron. This suggests a huge amount of healing. Like, the wounds have already been exposed to us. We've been sitting in our wounds now for like 4 days under this full moon intensity. And now Chiron is bringing a solution. He's bringing an amount of healing to the heart space. And what's even more powerful is that the moon is sextiling Pluto. Pluto just fresh into his retrograde, taking all of that energy inwards. We're moving into an inner journey, if you will, of healing. And that moon sextiling is a good energy. We're blending our power together. And we're really starting to see where, yes, transformation needs to take place. But most of all, we're in absolute death to certain narratives in our head, to certain emotions in our heart space, to external relationships, external time being wasted. That's a big thing coming up in the next cycle here, is what are we doing with our time? Now, I myself, I don't really abide to time. I think time is very, very elusive. Time only exists in this 3D man-made kind of world. But at the same time, we have to recognize what we're pouring our energy and attention into, and what we're spending the most quote unquote time doing and focusing on. So that's going to come into a major effect as the week progresses and as we move into a new month and a new cycle. The moon still in Scorpio, though, is squaring Jupiter. So Jupiter wants us to see the big picture. Jupiter rules over Sagittarius, so we get a little bit of a taste of the big picture that we're moving into. But Jupiter wants us to grow. He wants us to expand past our current form, past our current mentality, past our current emotion. The moon in Scorpio, still being very transformative, is applying this tension point to Jupiter, and Jupiter saying, okay, so you know where it is that you've been because you're uncomfortable, you don't like these feelings, you don't like these thoughts, you don't like your situation, so you know you want to move from that. So where do you want to grow from here? And this is where we start to see the pieces come together, because once the moon shifts into Sagittarius, the moon makes an aspect with Saturn. As you may remember, Saturn is karma. Saturn is us leveling up, bossing up through, taking in all the different life lessons and tough love life lessons that we have been forced to experience, and seeing where it is that we can overcome some of the limitations that we ourselves have created within us. And of course, some exterior restrictions that we're being faced with. Saturn wants to show us where it is that we can, still kind of abide by the rules, but push the boundaries. right? And to make matters even more intense here, the moon will be making an aspect to Mars. Mars, again, very sensitive, hypersensitive, ready to drop the gloves and fight and defend and protect anything that, threatens their emotional security, threatens their roots, threatens their tradition, threatens their family members. This is a very domesticated kind of energy where we want to go into protect and preservation mode. And Mars, being the god of war, he's ready to drop gloves and fight anything that challenges him. And the moon in Sagittarius is very much, wanting to stay positive and wanting to stay optimistic and seeing that big picture. And the moon is saying to Mars, okay, I know you're hypersensitive here, but you can't just, destroy everything in this moment and not think about the future consequences of your actions. And so there is a little bit of recognizing the long-term path here and recognizing where it is we're too grounded in our physical experience, we're too much in our emotions, and where it is that we need to kind of detach and act as the observer and see what our current emotions and our current thoughts and our current actions would actually do for us long-term if we just kind of throw caution to the wind and act without thinking. That could get us in some trouble. So overall, it's a highly emotional day. We are shifting from one very extreme emotion to the other. We are going to get a big picture, bright light picture as the day progresses, but don't put too much on your plate for today, because there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of unstable footings, unstable emotions, unstable thinking, and we are going to really feel very overwhelmed with some of the commitments that we have to live up to. So keep your plate kind of thin, kind of on the light side, until we can really grasp what this new energy is going to provide us with.